Hello, welcome to Ponderosa Center Presents. Ponderosa Center Presents is a glimpse of the future, a closer look at how we will offer new opportunities through a lakeside venue that focuses on community, lifetime learning, and entertainment. Through the success of what became our first season of Ponderosa Center Presents, we decided that we could not stop there. We had to bring you more connection, more learning opportunities, and more entertainment. Although life's adventures have impacted all of us, we continue to push forward, striving for a successful future for our beloved community. We remain hopeful that soon we will be able to gather together in person and excited that that time will include events at our new outdoor venue in downtown McCall, the Ludwig Terrace. This large open-air venue in the heart of downtown McCall boasts a front row view of Payette Lake. It is a prelude to the future of Ponderosa Center. To learn more about Ponderosa Center, please view our website, ponderosacenter.org. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoy the programming. Welcome everybody, and we'll get started. Pete Risse with Boise State University, take it away, and this is your show.
Great, thanks Nicole, and thank you very much for having us, and thanks to the Ponderosa Center for hosting us this evening. This is a very exciting opportunity to share some things that we're working on within the West Central Mountains and the McCall community. I'm Pete Risse. I'm Associate Dean of Extended Studies here at Boise State University. So I'm coming to you live from the foothills of Boise right now, and I'm the McCall and West Central Mountains campus representative and the university lead on the community impact programs. I also have with us today Rebecca Morgan, and I'll let Rebecca and Jeremy introduce themselves very briefly, but Rebecca's with us, and then Dr. Jeremy Graves is here today too. So Rebecca, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure, I'm Rebecca Morgan. I'm the Strategic Partnerships Manager. I also work with Pete in Extended Studies. My job, although Strategic Partnership Manager sounds real fancy, I'm really just McCall and the surrounding areas concierge. So I'm here to be your link to the university in any way, shape, or form to help with recruiting, to help with onboarding, to help make community advocates. Whatever you need, that's my job. And I'm a born and raised Idahoan, so I love our state. I love the people that live here, and I just want to make your communities strive and thrive for the future. So thank you for having me. Jeremy?
Thanks, Rebecca. My name is Jeremy Graves, and I am the Assistant Director. My title has changed recently, so I'm still trying to get used to it. Assistant Director of Professional and Continuing Education at Boise State. And I am also the first year instructor in the communities with the CIP program. So I get the opportunity to actually come and work with the students in each of the communities. And for me, it's been a true joy so far.
Great. Thank you, Rebecca and Jeremy. Bear with me for just a second, folks. I'm going to switch over and I'm going to share my screen with you so that we can see a few slides, and then we'll walk through our agenda about what we're going to talk about this evening, and we'll get rolling here. So, all right. So what we're here for tonight is to talk about the Community Impact Program, which was a brainchild of Dr. Marlene Tromp, our new president at Boise State University as of July of 2019. A little bit of background on this. Dr. Tromp came to us having been a dean at Arizona State University, and then a provost or chief academic officer in California at Santa Cruz. And in her time in Arizona and elsewhere, Dr. Tromp worked quite a bit with local rural communities related to specialized programming delivered in the community where the student wanted to live. And in one very specific example, she worked with the Gila Native American reservation, where they had a lack of Native American teachers that taught in their local schools. And so she worked with the community to provide a teacher education program, and had a good experience with that. When she got to Boise State, she asked us to go ahead and look into replicating a similar program. But she wanted to go well beyond just a singular organization and community. And she wanted to move into one in which we could reach out to multiple communities at once and approach it from a geographic hub. And so we worked together with our staff and team to identify 3 communities. We started with the McCall and West Central Mountains region. Then we went to Payette over on the Oregon border. And then finally, we were working with our friends down in Elmore County and Mountain Home. And so we've been working with localized community advisory teams for a little over a year now. I think we first started to fully engage in January of 2020. No, is that right, guys? 2020. It is right. Oh my gosh. I'm in pandemic time. It's hard to keep track anymore. At any rate, we began to fully engage with our folks at that time, and we were able to work out and develop a full set of programs that we began delivering this past fall of 2020. And so what we're going to do tonight then is walk through, with that context in mind, what is our approach to learning for the Community Impact Program? You know, what is it that we are trying to do with you all within the community? We're going to talk about our initial cohort of students, what they are experiencing as students and who they are as people, and why we think they're really the future of our communities, both here and elsewhere. So we'll talk about a couple of very specific students that are doing some very cool things, one of which is from the McCall area, and actually she lives in Council, and the other person is from Payette. But those two, I think, represent 2 different ends of a spectrum in terms of student experience, but are doing some very exciting things. Jeremy's then going to take up and talk to us about what he's doing in the community leadership program in this first year with the students, and some very exciting things that are happening right now, and then some things that we have to share that are new going forward that we're pretty excited to tell you all about. Rebecca's going to come up and pick up the tail end here, and she's going to talk to us about what our 2021 priorities are as a group, and then she's going to talk to you a little bit about how you can get involved and share with us in this process, because as we like to say, the outcomes of this program are owned by the communities that we're working with, and we're here in a supporting role, and we are thrilled to see the things that are going on. And then we'll open it up for a question and answer, and I know that there's some pre-questions that have been sent in, and we're looking forward to responding to those. All right, so what is this all about? What's our approach to learning within the Community Impact Program? Really, this is about providing opportunities for students to achieve their educational goals right where they want to live. Historically, those of us who have gone to college might be of an age in which we had to pack up and leave our community, our families, our jobs in order to attend school. And this is really an approach where we can move in and provide education right there in the community so that it's applicable immediately at home. It's close to home where we can apply our work and our entrepreneurial mindset to do some great things. And so I've got some notes here on this slide, but really this is about providing students with the supports that they need locally. It's designed to be primarily online with select components that are offered in the community. And so Jeremy, for instance, spends at least a weekend, if not longer, each semester visiting the community and teaching classes there. And then his faculty colleagues also come out on a regular basis to visit with students where they're at. And that helps us as a faculty and a staff team understand what it is that a community needs. What are the opportunities in that community? How do we help guide students to seeing the opportunities that are right there in front of us? How many times have we in our lives not necessarily been able to see something that's right there in front of us because we see it every single day? Our job is to help come in and assist the students in seeing those things and making connections to people like you all that are there. The program itself is designed to be modular, meaning that it is not intended necessarily for a student to have to complete a full 4-year bachelor's degree, but it can be chunked off into component parts. It could be a series of certificates that they achieve that lead towards a full degree. It can just be a singular certificate or a class experience that they need in order to move their life or their career forward. The programming is interdisciplinary in nature, and it's very broad. We have, I believe, 52. They're constantly changing. We just had a whole slew of programs go through state board approval this week, and so my numbers might be a little shy of the actual number. But we have about 52 fully online certificates and degrees right now at Boise State University, and our students that are involved in this program are eligible to take any one of those. We're also working on very specialized program development for the West Central Mountains in this case, which we're trying to focus in on hospitality, recreation, and wellness. Okay, outdoor recreation, I should say. We also have a very enhanced community advisor staff and leadership and financial connection to this program, far more involved than a typical program might be. And so we're pretty excited about that. I want to note also at this point that the other aspect of this program that's very exciting is it allows us as a university, a public university, to attach other efforts and relationships that we might have through grants to opportunities that emerge or have emerged through the CIP program. And so, for instance, and we can talk about this a little later, Rebecca can tell you a little bit more about what we're doing this fall, but we have a relationship with Apple Computers, and we are working with localized school districts and your local libraries to put together what's called On-Ramp, which is providing equipment and training for the librarians so they can share that information and access to those pieces of equipment and that technology for local kids and families to use as they need. So it's a pretty exciting program, and we're happy that we're able to share it through this. So what do our students look like? In the West Central Mountains, so your region here, we've got a total of 5 students this semester. That represents a significant growth rate in terms of total students that are attending Boise State. In Mountain Home, we have 8 students. In Payette, we have 3 students this semester. And what I mean by the growth rate of students attending university, those numbers are fairly small, but when we dug into the data as we were tracking this through, we noticed the trend that occurred at the beginning of this program. In comparison to the last 3 years and how many students are going on to college at or university at Boise State University, this last fall, an additional 28.6%, or change of 28.6% in overall enrollment coming from your area did occur. We tracked this against other control communities who are on our projected list for participation in community impact programs in the future. And we saw significant declines in those communities at this point, anywhere from 6% all the way to 52% reduction in college go-on rates. And so that's a significant piece. It's a small data point at this stage. It's just the first semester that we're tracking, but it's something that we find very interesting, and we're going to keep looking at that. For the first year, for the first year students, we're also applying a 50% scholarship for the students, and so that cuts their tuition rate in half. This last fall, we were able to award almost $50,000 for fall and spring. Each community that we're working with has a total of $50,000 at their disposal at this point. And so we're hoping to move that forward. And I want to recognize Joan Edwards here. She's done significant work within the community to help get the word out and helping us raise additional scholarship funds so we can continue to expand this. My personal goal in life would be to help get that cost of attendance down to near zero if we can get there. And so I think, Rebecca, I see your icon there. I know this is something that's near and dear to all of us on the team. We want to work on that. We saw 282 credit hours. That's simply a measure of how much time and effort the students are putting into their education at this point. But that's a significant number for a small program like this at this stage. And probably most exciting, our first round semester included an entrepreneurship class. It resulted in 8 entrepreneurial startups, and several of those are moving forward right now as we speak. And so that's one of the stated goals is to help with that type of development within each community, and to see the students being able to move forward on that is terribly exciting for us. And we can't wait to see more of that. Okay, so the students themselves. We're seeing all ages and ranges. We've got students that are coming straight out of high school into the program, and we have students that are much older, in their mid-50s. And these are two students, Charlie Risse and Sandra Meza. Charlie's from Payette, and Charlie is a third-year student in the multidisciplinary studies program right now, and he is working in healthcare, but he has found a passion and is seeking to start up a new distillery out in the Payette area. And so he's actually broken ground on that activity, if I'm not mistaken, right, Rebecca? Yes, great. And so he's moving forward with that right now while he's finishing off his degree. His intent for his distillery then is to move forward with using localized resourced materials, from everything from the manufacturing process all the way to locally grown products, so that he can use those in his piece. And that's an ideal aspect of his entrepreneurial activity, is that it moves forward utilizing what's locally available. And so that helps many people rather than just an individual. And we're pretty excited about that. Sandra is from Council. And so she's part of the West Central Mountains cohort. And Sandra is working on her very first year in college. She had a lengthy stop out after high school. She went on to beauty school and was working in a salon for quite a while. And then more recently has been working with her father, building fences and that sort of thing locally. She connected, and this is a really important component, she connected with a local mentor. And I'm going to go ahead and call out Dr. Dan Ostemiller on that. Was working with him on building a fence. They got to talking about what her goals in life were, and Dr. Ostemiller told her about this program and encouraged her to apply. And she is finishing up her second semester right now and is doing fantastic work. And we're really thrilled for her. She has also identified a desire to start up an alpaca business to help transport mountain expeditions, whether that's hunting or recreation or simply camping. And it's a pretty exciting thing. Takes advantage again of the local environment to move something forward. She also has a significant interest in housing issues and is trying to work with Sherry Malpin, who's working with all of the students that want to on getting involved with some work related to providing affordable housing options locally. So that's a very exciting option and project. So at this point, I'm going to be quiet, and Jeremy is going to tell you a little bit about this first year certificate and what's going on there.
Thanks, Pete. It's been an exciting endeavor to be working on this project. Someone asked me recently about the CIP program, and I said it's actually one of the most rewarding pieces to my time at the university thus far. The opportunity to think about how we can engage with the community holistically has been just a joy on so many levels. I actually grew up in a small Idaho community called Orofino, not far from some of you up in that area, but even spent 1 year, my dad was a police officer, I spent 1 year actually in Elk River, population, I believe at that time, 214. And so I have always had a heart for communities that maybe get overlooked at times. And so when Pete talked to me about this almost 2 years ago, when we had a first conversation about it, I was very excited to say, how can I help? And so what we've done is we've put together a program that allows the students to have some online components and then also some in-person. And the best way to think about it is me as an in-person instructor who comes into the community is kind of a thread that ties together what they're learning in the online environment. So the first semester, they looked at entrepreneurship, and I came into the community and said, well, if we're going to be good entrepreneurs, where does leadership play into that? How do we have a entrepreneurial mindset with using our strengths when it comes to leadership. And so we dove into that and spent some time working through some assessments, and then also thinking about the community holistically. The second semester is around teamwork and innovation. And I've had the opportunity a couple weeks ago to do the first cohort at Mountain Home of the second semester. And in that, I got the opportunity to work with some of the students around the innovation piece of thinking about their community using some infrastructure that Apple has taught us called challenge-based learning, where we are looking at how can we make an impact on the community, not just entrepreneurial startups, but how can we together make an impact on the community. And so they're identifying community needs within the community, and then we are working towards, like, what can we do to get involved with one of those. The class that they're taking online is teamwork and innovation, and I'm coming in and helping them assess how they work in teams. We're talking about the 4 stages of team development, and then we're laying out that challenge-based learning framework. The summer semester, which will be the completion of the first year certificate, is business communication. So their class online will be around communication from the comm department at the university, and then I'm going to come in and kind of tie up what they're learning in an online environment around how do we communicate these ideas and these things that we have been working on throughout this first year. How do we communicate those out in a way that helps people really catch vision for what it is that we're doing? And so it's been really fun to be a part of this project. And as we've done this, we've also identified another opportunity that's kind of risen to the surface. And that is, we've had people in each community say, I want to take these classes, but I don't want to do the homework and do all the credit. And so I said, why don't we talk about how we might partner in the community to create a basically non-credit version of some of these things that we're doing. So if people in the community want to get some training, or they want to get involved, or they want to kind of learn a little bit about what we're doing, that they have that opportunity. And so one of the new things that we are launching is, beginning March 1st, we will have someone on our team who's going to be focused on taking the 4 credit courses that we have offered in these communities and turning them into non-credit offerings that we hope to be able to launch into your communities, just as a way to say, hey, we want to be involved with what you're doing in the community, and we want you to know a little bit about what your students are experiencing in those communities. And so it's an exciting time for us with this program, and I just can't speak highly enough about it. It's so energizing to me to get to spend 2 days with the students in these communities, one-on-one or two-on-one, just in small settings, getting to know them, hear their stories, and then also to see the mindset change. I had a student who in one of the communities was going back to school. She was older, and she had a lot of fear attached to it. And in one of the classes, she said, you know, this is the first time that I actually feel like I can do this. Up until this point, there was so much fear about, can I actually do this? And she actually got a little bit emotional, and she said, I feel like this program is giving me the tools that I need to be successful, not just in my community, but in my family and in my job and in other places. And I think that's really our hope in all of this, is that the whole person can engage with the whole community, and we can see real lasting change.
Great. Thanks, Jeremy, very much. And Rebecca, would you like to tell us a little bit more about the program priorities for the coming year?
I would. So we're going to focus on 2 major items, which is just recruitment and partnership. And both of those, actually, in my mind, they go hand in hand. I can't have one without the other. In this upcoming fall semester, which is going to start in August, and I know that might seem like it's a long ways away because there's still snow on the ground, but in my world, it's just right around the corner. So I have my foot all the way down on the gas pedal, trying to recruit students in the 3 areas so that we can get them properly prepared, and we can launch them in a way that they feel secure, they feel supported, and they feel like they're special, because they are. So our goal is 30 new students, and while 30 might not seem like a big number, when we are going out to recruit in a community, we're having to try different pieces of bait to get people to bite. Whereas a lot of what happens at the university on a different recruiting scale is that people want to go to college, and so it's a little easier to get that fish to jump into the boat. This is more coaxing, supporting. There's a lot of feelings for morale and like Jeremy's talking about, the fear, the guilt, all those emotions that go into coming back. But I'll tell you folks, really what solidifies the deal is when we talk about the community impact program and what that relation looks like to the community and the hometown that they live in. How we're able to bring students into the program is to let them know that they don't have to move to Boise. They don't have to travel to Boise in any time of the year. They can stay in their hometown. And then the challenge bank that Jeremy was talking about, that the problems or the challenges that they're going to be tackling are all things that are happening in the communities to which they live. And then the fact that they get to have all of these people that are on this call as their support structure, it really is just a great big family that's coming together to say that you can do it. And the socioeconomic advantages are they're off the charts for these students. I've really never had the opportunity to, and I'm echoing what Jeremy is saying, and I don't mean to be saying the same thing, but when we talk about the support structure that goes along with this, that's how we're getting students to want to say yes to this community impact program. So when we've got the West Central Mountains here that we have 3 enrolled students, we actually have 6 on our list right now for McCall. We've been doing a little bit of work, which is really great. And we did a recent outreach effort, a campaign to your superintendents, principals, and career counselors in all of your school districts to reach out to high school seniors that are getting ready to graduate to see if they want to stay for the first year in their community, do this community impact certificate, and then also finish a couple of their generals that they can do online too. And that's all included in the scholarship. So it's quite the deal for these high school seniors that are just not quite ready maybe to look for housing in the big city. And we know that that's a challenge. And so we have an answer to that. They get to stay here in their hometown and start with this. They actually can finish a whole degree online. They never actually have to leave the community if they don't want to. I mean, we want them to come down with a cap and gown on and walk across that stage, and we want to invite everyone else to come down with them. But really for the first little bit, they don't have to do that at all if they don't want to. They could finish everything online. Mountain Home also has 6 students right now, and then the Western Treasure Valley has 1. And they're a little bit more difficult to bring around. And so like what Pete was talking about with the different communities, they each are so unique, and your Western Central Mountains region is unique. How we talk to your community is different than how we talk to Mountain Home or to the Western Treasure Valleys. And that's an important part for this program to continue to go forward. It's not just a cookie cutter stamp to each of these communities. They all need something special. One of the really great things that we have for our program is that I have 2 people that work for me, Brian and Evelyn, which are part of the, and I'll include this in the chat here, this is just our new students portal. Brian's picture is there, and he is probably the most kindest person on the planet. So when he brings people in and talks with them, he's step by step addressing concerns, addressing any issues that they might have, and really just giving them the boost that they need to launch in this program. So he's great. And then we also have Evelyn Hernandez, and she is bilingual, and she also focuses really she can focus on traditional age students, so these high schoolers that we have coming through, and the support structures that they need, especially if they're going to stay in their own communities, and how to create community while not being on campus proper. So we feel like we're laying out the red carpet, and we're doing a good job with that. Our fall 2020 cohort, so going back to the ones that are in Jeremy's class right now, those folks in year 2 are going to focus really on that applied community impact. So we're going to be reaching out to you to have you help us determine what kind of internships might be out there, what kind of identified challenges, and of course we want the students to really do the uncovering of the issue. But my guess is, from what we've been talking about, is that you have been saying enough in the community that they should probably come up with a lot of those community issues on their own. And then we'll work on a challenge bank, which is a process on how to uncover perspectives and biases and project management and all that kind of stuff to try to figure out, how do we help you address a challenge in your community? How do we bring everybody together to do that? And then how do we support the students going forward so they can finish their certificate, their associate's degree, their bachelor's degree, and beyond, whatever it is that they feel like they want to do. It's very powerful. You just got really wonderful people working in your communities. And I will say that Pete and Jeremy and I have looked at real estate in your community, because we're not all living together. That's not going to work out for me, but we do love your community very much. You've got wonderful, wonderful people residing in your towns. They really are quite special. So my next slide then is just what do I need? And what I need from you is some help recruiting students. And so in that website that I just put in the chat, it has a referral on there. But you can also send us an email at cip@boisestate.com, cip@boisestate.com. You can do it that way. You can reach out to me directly if you want to. Just whatever way it makes you comfortable, you can do that. We are working right now on some posters that we can get out to your businesses, and so we can get up, out in the community. We're also working on some business cards that you can have in your purse or wallet that you can then hand out to the person, that lets them know that you are supporting them and this is how they get connected to the program. So we've got some ideas, but really, if you have ideas that you think would work in marketing and recruiting, you just need to let me know, and we can create it. So if you've got something in mind, you know better than I do about how to get your folks moving in that direction. So this just harkens back to that challenge-based learning that we're going to be doing and identifying project-based learning. So keep in mind that this next year you're probably going to be called on not just to recruit, but also to help with a challenge. And it's going to be hopefully this fresh mind that comes in that says, did you think about this, this, and this? And you'll be working closely with them in order to do that. And then we've got the support here at the university to keep everything on track and to try to help you the best that we can. We are excited to help you, and we feel very blessed, I think, that we were invited so graciously into your communities, because we know when you see the blue and orange coming, it can be a little overwhelming sometimes, but we're real friendly folk. So hopefully you feel that way when you see us come up.
Great. Thanks a lot, Rebecca. It occurs to me that I should note at this point that within the challenge-based framework that the students are going to be working on, this particular group, and working with the Ponderosa Center, might have a particular challenge that we could set the students loose on as they go forward. And that might be assisting with finding funding for building out the remainder of the center. So that's my challenge to you, is to work with us to issue those components, and we can attack that in small chunks, or we can let them have at it in the whole thing and work with you all to help solve that issue. So that is our presentation component, and so we'd love to just open it up for Q&A and have a conversation at this point.
Well, Peter, my wife Kristen and I just got appointed as the chairs of the capital campaign for the Ponderosa Center. So
congratulations.
Let's take you up on that and see how you can work with Sam and Nicole and Kristen and I, and make something happen. And Joan, who we are stepping in for. She's moving on to some other activities.
We're stepping into her big shoes.
But as well. But let's see how we can make this a win-win.
Oh, I love it.
Something that's a good move for the student, and something that helps our efforts here in McCall.
You mentioned that you need scholarship money, and honestly, that's always been one of the most successful ways to raise scholarship money that I know of, is to put a student in front of the people that make those decisions. So you know, I know there's a certain synergy between our two organizations. And I think that philanthropy is something that people should, you know, students should explore and Walt's right. I think that, you know, getting those students involved in our efforts in some way is going to demonstrate to the community the impact we're having. But, you know, the Ponderosa Center has been so sold on this project. There were 5 people, I think, from our board that were in your advisory committee. And we've talked a lot about how Boise State might advantage from having the Ponderosa Center actually become a reality instead of you know, the terraces. I think we'll be able to use it in some way, but you know, talk a little bit about how you think that our two organizations will benefit from each other.
Well, certainly, you know, Joan, as you know, I think some of you may have heard this, but I came to Boise from a little town called Eagle River, Alaska, and my wife and I lived there for about 10 years. I'd been there for about 15 years total. And one of the biggest projects that we had going in our town was setting up and creating a town center. It was critically important for providing a space for the community to get together and conduct business, to set up a sense of community and that sort of thing. So I understand how difficult it is and how long it takes to come up with solutions for this type of thing, and B, how much vibrancy it can bring to bringing a community at large together. And so I feel very strongly on a personal stand to what you're doing. As far as Boise State's relationship, one of my great dreams would be that we would, and I think Rebecca and Jeremy probably share this too, but we bring, through our combined efforts working together, we build such a vibrant educational landscape in the West Central Mountains that it makes just perfect sense that we put together with you a center that we can also work from in terms of delivering educational content, whether that's academic in nature, whether that's professional development in nature, whether that's an Osher Lifelong Learning Institute of sorts, and help you do other things. And we would welcome our colleagues from the University of Idaho. I think if the two universities could work together in the area and leverage one another's unique talents and you know, bits of skill and ability, we could do some pretty amazing things together in your area. So
that's always wonderful to hear, Pete. We love that. Samantha got a couple of questions prior to this event, and so I was going to let her ask those. I want to make sure we get to them and get those answered. So
yeah, one of the first question is
I'm ready.
How has the pandemic shaped the CIP in its first year?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. I love that one. How about significantly? To put it succinctly, we had, as I think several of you know, we had grand plans from everything from our staffing plan for putting a community-based navigator, somebody who lives in town to help navigate things for students, to a variety of live and in-person events and meetings and that sort of thing. Professional development for our advisory team and the like. Those things all went away with a snap of a finger on March 17th, 2020. So what we had to do is very quickly, as a university, we had to absorb the blow that had on us in terms of just dealing with our day-to-day operations. But it also changed the trajectory of how we were going to interact with all of you, how much time we could actually get up and spend in the community during the lockdown phase, and then how often we've been able to connect with people ever since. And so I think what you saw was a significant reduction in our ability to engage in the way that we wanted to, and probably in the way that you wanted to engage with us. We have, I can share that as of today, as a university, we are planning on, with fingers crossed and toes crossed, that we'll be able to have a fairly normal fall semester because things are looking better, especially locally here. What that brings for us then is that how can we take those plans that we had last year and reinvigorate them and get going again here in the coming years. So some of the things that Jeremy's talked about, some of the things that Rebecca's talked about tonight, we'll be able to get back at that. So we really went into a virtual environment. I think the very fact that we're having this meeting and this presentation right now in a virtual environment is indicative of how everything has gone over the course of the last year. There's some good aspects to that. I think it allows us to reach out to people more frequently, but also puts in challenges because I think that it does lack that personal touch. I much prefer being in front of real people. Not that you're not real, but I'd rather be sitting with you in a room right now than this way. So anything you would add to that, Rebecca or Jeremy?
Probably just the biggest thing for me, especially as the liaison between Boise State and each of the communities, is that I want to be where you are so that I can keep in touch with you and keep giving you what you need. And so in January, I popped up to McCall for one day and met with Jill St. John and Jim Foudy and had great social distance, and we stood away from each other, and but was able to kind of get an idea of what do you need now and how can I help. I just wish that I could spend more time up there and be closer to you so that we can really get in and help the folks that need some help. I think that what we see in all of the communities, and I'm sure that you're feeling this in yours, is that just the mental stability of our citizens is taxed because of what's happening with COVID. I think that's national, but I think in the smaller communities, it's probably impacting you more even so than it is here in Boise. And that can sometimes change your idea about going to school or starting something new or a new endeavor, if you were. And so I want to make sure that we are addressing it and then providing the proper amount of support and structure for these folks, the ones that were maybe on the fence in March, and now we're coming back around to them to do it again. And it's something that just weighs on my mind a lot, that I want to make sure that they feel good about the next step that they're taking, and that not all is lost and their opportunity isn't lost. But I know that's probably, I'm assuming, of course, but I know that that's something that's affecting people here in Boise. So I can only imagine it probably affects you in the smaller towns.
That is great, as usual. Wonderful information from the BSU team. Do you have any? We don't have any more questions because the two other questions we got, we've sort of covered in the previous material. So great job hitting all the high points. I really like where this is going, and I like this, trying to meet some community needs with what the students are doing. Samantha and I were just saying how relevant it makes it for the individual students that are participating, and it really brings it home for them and makes it feel powerful, the things that the studies that they're moving through. So congratulations on that. Joan.
I just want to also say that I'm thrilled that you're turning some of the courses into non-credit courses. I went and perched in Jeremy's class when it first started, just because I've always been interested in the topic of leadership. But I think that if we can eventually have, the Osher Institute model up here as well, our demographic. We are a retirement community. So I think you'll have a huge response to that. And that word will spread, I think, to other students. I'm not in an environment where I'm interacting with people that are looking forward with their life much. So I think maybe the Osher Institute might be, the thing that I could get more involved in, getting people involved in. So I'm thrilled with that decision.
Yeah,
it's such a wonderful program.
It is.
It really is.
Yep. And we have a wonderful director, and she also ironically worked in the same office I did at the University of Alaska. And so I think because of that shared background, have an affinity for a community like yours. Makes it feel like home, quite honestly. And I appreciate that very much. We had actually, in order for me to become your campus representative, we had a trial by combat, and I came out on top. Pretty excited about that.
Congratulations, Pete.
Oh,
We're glad to have you and glad you came through the battle. Great job.
Our good fortune.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for participating tonight. Boise State team, as usual, you did a great job telling us all about your program, and it just seems like it continues to grow and get better and better, and we can't wait to see you in person. And as I told you before we started, the Ponderosa Center Terrace is extending an invitation to you to have a big grand event outside at our terrace located next to Legacy Park. Get to see some people in person this summer. That would be a lot of fun and really give out oodles of information, lots of people. So thank you all so much for attending, and we'll see you very soon.
Thanks for having us.